Good day to you on this September 11th. This will be the second video of this day, so if you haven't seen the prior video, not to worry, because my videos tend to go in pairs now, where the first one is kind of discardable, due to emotional venting, which I finally ended up accusing everybody else of doing. I never leave myself out. It's like when you say mankind. Well, hey, what about the women? No, no, no. They're included. So that's what I mean when I say everybody vents and I'm sick of it. Well, they're sick of me too. Because we all vent, because we're human. Now, that's what we talked about in the prior video, being human, which is not really science at its most logical, is it? We're talking about being human. Isn't that philosophy? Yes, it is. And so that's why I make two videos now. It's not just because I'm showing my human side. It's that we're two different people. And I think that's quite important to... I'm glad I'm starting out this way, although I don't want to use up too much time. We've already used up a minute with what I call bracketing information, which I always do. You don't want to just jump into a subject, unless it's a classroom. I'm after the truth. You're here to be after the truth as well, or you're in the wrong place, because that's all I do my whole life. I go after the truth. Now, that's fairly common, so I'm not like, oh, gee, well, you're certainly lucky. But actually you are, and that's another thing I covered in the prior video. But that's kind of megalomanic, kind of self-centered. Again, things that I've been accusing others of. I never exclude myself. I'm talking to myself as I teach. And every teacher knows this. I've heard this said by so many teachers whom I respect. They say, oh, don't ever doubt it. That teacher is learning. That teacher may not really need you at all. In the sense, like, he would stand there if there was nobody in the room. That's what I do. That's exactly what I do. I'm a teacher with no audience. Well, that's why I make these videos. I can at least pretend. And I've been doing so for 1,200 videos. So today I'm going to tell you the meaning of numbers. And this is an ancient topic. There is also such a thing as sacred geometry, which is at least worth knowing about. I need to tell you two things about sacred geometry, no matter what your delightful emotional reaction to that term might be, and I have both. I would assume you do too. You know, it sounds like it kind of sounds like alchemy, or even, you know, it gets worse. Astrology. What are you, like, drifting away from the logic boat? No, we are two different people because we have two different subsystems that have different axiomatic bases completely. Your emotional system, which includes love and fun, by the way, so let's not, gee whiz, oh, that's not scientific at all, so we don't care. Love and fun? No, we're after the truth, but there are two kinds of truth. One for the emotional system, which is based in love and all the good, wonderful things of the Holy Spirit, as they say in Christianity, which I fully accept that part, yes. Oh, you want to take the best of all the religions, because nobody's going to get it all. You just take the best of each religion. Well, is there a best religion? Well, that depends on how you define religion. But we do touch on religion here because, at least for the reason that there's a conflict between science and religion now. But you see, religion goes to both sides. And as I just said, this is really synchronistic because I just taught myself something. I'm actually having a brainstorm right now. Because that is true. I never really put that into words before. But that's pretty damn profound. Because it's simplifying. A scientist is always looking for simplification. And oh man. Yeah, our two subsystems are emotion and logic. The logic system comes online at a slightly different pace. And I think we're all aware of that. But our emotional system comes online almost immediately because it has to. It's just part of, really, I believe it's called the ontological development of a human. We're all commoners this way. We all are born the same way. out to a certain age. But I mean, in this madcap world, things can really go awry. You could be born and your mother could be dead within 3 minutes. And now your mother, you don't know that. You were just born, but she just died. Or she, I mean, just to give you an extreme example. So, what we want to talk about today is the meaning of numbers. The meaning of numbers, I did put out a challenge question, which I never addressed because I got off on some kind of megalomaniac streak, which I still believe was worth publishing. So that you see another side of the professor, too. Because I'm in on this. I am teaching myself. I would do this. I actually, in a way, I do this just for myself. I really would do this if nobody ever listened. And virtually nobody is anyway, so I'm just doing what I like to do. If you live alone, you'll figure out something. If you're me, I'm just saying, you may not be like me in that way. You might just beat off forever, like it says in Ken Kesey's first amazing book. I don't believe it's his second book, Sometimes a Great Notion. If you have not read Ken Kesey's Sometimes a Great Notion, you don't know anything about American literature. You flunked whatever kind of degree you have. It's gone now. No, you better read that book because I told you. All right. So, the meaning of meaning. Resist answering riddle questions. Every time you hear a question, and this may only come up for professional scientists, I've never actually had to go through this very often myself, but I'm aware of the situation as a potential. Is that people ask each other, I mean, we're talking about after fourth grade. From fourth grade and earlier, you do get questions like this because we challenge each other. What do you think is at the end of the universe? And I swear to God, we all considered it. And I believe it went on, it was an extended philosophical inquiry. And we finally had to give you an idea of the grade level here, the intelligence development level, like we're looking into the sky for the first time and wondering what's at the edge. Well, what are the odds we're going to really get far with that question? Well, we finally ended up, it must be a brick wall. And this is the amazing part. We all knew what we meant by that. It was a metaphorical brick wall. We didn't really think it was a brick wall, but we were all seeing that in our minds, which is mind-boggling. You're picturing the edge of the universe, and for a moment you just entertain this notion that it's just made of bricks. There's a brick wall, because we knew what a brick wall meant from cartoons. Dogs run into brick walls and smash their faces. Brick walls are things that crooks have to climb over to get away from the cops. Brick walls, just you find them in England. Brick, just... So let's get into the meaning of numbers. I did write something, so I'm just going to read. Just to recap, just one sentence here where we left off in the prior video, which you don't need to worry about because we're simply picking up where I ended, mostly by ranting. I believe is a good classification for what I enjoy doing when I'm not doing what I should. All right. Why are we the same? Why are we all different? So we're talking about the whole, W-H-O-L-E, and the parts, which is a dichotomy. And it's a challenge to the mind if you force it. It's like, well, who cares? There's no problem. No child has a problem with this, because if you have a cake and cut it into 6 pieces, everybody knows that that's a piece of the cake. There's no logical or philosophical deal going on. But then when you're a big boy and you start wondering about everything, it's just like nothing is untouchable now. It's like, well, that is peculiar, because now is the cake an individual? How much of that piece of cake is actually cake now? It's like, well, it can't be the whole goddamn thing because there's 6 of them, and we just freak out. Well, that's numbers. We just get into it. We just get hot. So we have theories. We write thesis papers and just challenge each other. Yes, no, my God, you certainly began the incorrect way there. We're going to just tear you to shreds and just roast you half alive. You miserable excuse for a. You make us all ashamed, but we're going to set everything goddamn golden straight at your expense. Yeah. Whoa, go. Oh, yeah, yeah, let's go, let's go. Oh, God, they run out on the field, joust, just smash each other, very few of them are wearing jock straps, so it's just easy to end the fight. Yak! Right in the webbles. I guess that's the end of your theory. You're not going to be spouting that crap anymore. No, the big boys are in town, the pros from Dover. So the whole and the part connote both geometric and mathematic relations. The part can be considered the derivative. The whole, therefore, is the integration, or the integrative. The part is enumerable. That's important. The part is derivative. The whole is integrative. The part is enumerable. The whole is structured. The whole is structured. The pieces fit because there is a form that fits them. Conversely, the whole is unified because the pieces are coordinated. They are coordinated geometrically. So what I say is structure and measurement. Those are the two dichotomous aspects of basic science. Structure and measurement. It's the basis of propositional logic. It's the whole meaning behind mechanics is the measurement part. But everyone is ignoring the structure part now. That's the biggest mistake that can be made in a scientific community. You forgot your geometry? Then you forgot how to understand things. You cannot understand anything with numbers. And I can prove that. So let's keep going. I am somewhat advertising my own product here, you understand, because I'm publishing a paper. So I want people to read the paper as soon as it comes out. I've been promising for 2 years, really 2 Christmases, that I would have it out by Christmas. And now the 3rd Christmas is approaching. It's just 3 short months away. And we're in the Christmas holiday season, where for 2 years hand running, I've been promising this goddamn paper by Christmas. Well, I'm doing it a 3rd time, so you know I'm not lying to you. As my mother would say, I'd rather owe it to you than cheat you out of it. What that means is, stay tuned. Tell people. If I wanted money, I'd be right now passing the plate. The big golden sensors fill the air with smoke. Dump your wallets now. I need. Never. But emotionally, far worse. Far beyond your wildest expectations. No, I wish he'd just ask me for money and get it over with. Because what he actually does is insufferable. The whole of the part. Okay, so the part is enumerable. So we have structure and measurement. So we begin with the primary numbers. Do you know what the primary numbers are? We're talking about the magic of numbers. We're talking about the meaning. That's why I began by asking you, can you define what it means to mean something? And that's not supposed to be a riddle, but I cautioned you to hesitate before answering, because doesn't that sound like a trap? It sounds like a trick question. What do you mean? Now it's a joke, like who's on 3rd or who's on 1st? What do you mean, what is the meaning of meaning? What do you mean? Well, that's kind of interesting situation we're in, isn't it? Well, that's what philosophy does to you. And now you're not doing anything, you're just grinding your wheels, just, golly, that's bright and shiny and I'm hypnotized. We're not getting anywhere. What solution? What was the question? Oh, God, I forgot. Let's smoke some pot. Yeah, let's not. So let's go on. We have numbers. Well, the meaning of numbers is what we're after. Well, what does that even mean? Is not really a rhetorical question. It's like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Numbers don't have any meaning. Let's start there. Fucking numbers have no meaning. How's that? Let's start there. What are you talking about the meaning? They're numbers. What's the meaning of rocks? What's the meaning of molecules? Well, I'm not the one who asked this. I swear, and I'll bet I don't need to swear to you. You're like, can we get on with it? I understand what you're saying for once, Sam. Well, maybe not for once, I pray. Yeah, finally you are making sense. No wonder you interrupted yourself. Well, you don't want that for very long, do you? I thought I got this out of my system, but now I'm down on myself. This is what happens, a psychological whiplash. Now you need to punish yourself. Ooh, I was a bad boy. All right. So we start out with 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'll bet you guessed those. You weren't going to say like E, pi, I, and the Planck length. No. You didn't say like light speed, the electrostatic quantity, the reverse spin of Neptune's anus. No. How about 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah. Well, you know the ones that were chosen by Pauli and Jung were the numbers 3 and 4. And both of those men had extraordinary relationship, not with one number or the other, and each man had the same malady, I guess you'd say. They were both somewhat in love or some kind of Freudian sexual conjugation, not just with the number 3, like, ooh, it's the Trinity. Or 4, ooh, it's a part of a cube. No, it's both numbers. And they were torn between these two numbers and they just wrestled, each in their own way, with what is the thing with both 3 and 4. Because they're different, but this was driving Carl Jung insane, and he's a psychologist, so that's saying something. And it was driving Pauline nuts, who is one of the greatest logicians of all time. So a logician and a psychologist are freaking out together over the number 3. Oh, well, hold on. No, hold the 4. Whoa, I thought you said 3. No, it's both. Whoa, they're freaking about 3 and 4. Why? Because they forgot about 1 and 2. Now, what about 0? Anagalactic proved that there is no such 0. There is no 0. There is no such thing as 0 with a footnote. So to carry that thought forward, so you know about my geometric, mathematic, and numeric discoveries in basic arithmetic and basic operator functionality and how that has to do with physical reality, how we use geometry, and numbers are at the bottom of the totem pole, but you have to have them for what? To prove your geometry. And so I discovered the second geometry, and the basis of that geometry, which is, of course, circular space, which translates directly to spherical space, but it uses a 2-component number system called the binary dyadic fractions, which is redundant, but I like to say both. It's the binary numbers, which are also called the dyadic fractions, powers of 2. When you set up the power of 2 line, it's not linear, because it's circular. It goes inside and outside of a circle. It doesn't converge on 0, because there is no 0 in the system. So the lowest number that can be called a number is 1. And that's why 1 is the most important number. It's one of 2 Archimedeans in the universe. That's been proved, but you know them as the 2 identities. The operator identities, as you know, there are two numbers, one of which is the additive identity called 0. The other one is the multiplicative identity called 1. Those are both mistaught to us, both in word and deed, and you were mistrained in school. And you're going to have to go back to the first grade, I would say much earlier, and begin all over again with me to reprogram your mind 100%. So that you know what a number is. It's not that I think this isn't important. What I'm doing is using a popular topic to get at the truth. And it really takes an asshole to do that. You really have to kick people out of the way real fast and make it stick. It's like, no, you're not muscling. You're not going to interrupt this professor. You've had your turn. Now it's time to do it right. So the number 1 is definitely important. We're just going to say that it has a meaning. And so we are answering the inquest. What is the meaning of numbers? Well, the original number is 1. The universe only uses quantity. And quantity here has two actually different forms. But they are still both quantities, and that is well known. But one of them is a counting quantity. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the numbers. And that is the only correct definition of what is a number. It's a whole positive number. That is called a counting number. And the universe pats us on the head when we get that far, because the universe has a counting number too. I'm sorry, the 2 is a pun in English. Let me say that a different way. The additive identity is 0 because it does not affect add or subtract. 1 is the multiplicative identity, which is misnamed completely. You could say it's half right. That's not good enough. It's not the multiplicative identity. That's a sign of retardedness. The universe says that. So I'm forced to tell you, you have to get this right. You can't call it the multiplicative identity or you're retarded. That's the wrong name for it. No, it's not, although it is. And you can get off the hook on superposition in most cases in mathematics. And I'm a little harsh, but I'm right, and that does not necessarily mean that everyone else is wrong. It just means that I'm more right than they'll ever understand until they listen. And that's simply what needs to be said, because that is the truth. So the number 1 is the proportional identity. I discovered that. And that is the meaning of the number 1. It's the center of the universe's idea of what is a number. And it has 2 definitions. One is the counting number. Can you think of anything in the universe that can be counted? If you say planet, you're wrong. And I'm not going to tell you why. I'm just going to tell you that no, you cannot count planets, because you can't define what a planet the fuck is. How small is a planet? Does it have to be going around one sun? So no, that's not at all what I mean by counting, although it is an extended concept of counting which works in general. But that's not what we're talking about, and you have to be rigorous and specific here. Is there anything in the physical universe that can be counted in units so that they're all the same? There go your planets. The planets are not all the same. So you need to count in identical units. Is there anything in the universe with which you might be able to set up that system with physical objects that are all the same? Is there anything in the universe that has an identity that's distributed to more than one of it, so that they're all exactly the same thing. There's just one. It's not the electron, it's not the photon, because those have varying energy states. Is there anything in the universe that can be counted in units? Yes. What is it? It's the proton. And we're going to stop there. That is the counting number system of the universe, is the proton. What else might we say about the proton now that we've asserted what physics has actually discovered? Which is that all protons are exactly alike, and they make exactly the same force field. What is that force field? Does that define the proton? What is the proton? Why are they all the same? Why are protons identical? They do not have changing energy states. Where do they exist? That's easy. They exist in space. Does anything else exist in space? Not in the same way. Why not? Because you can have one proton. You can also have two protons, and they're identical. You can also have all the protons in the universe, and each one of them is exactly the same unit. That is the only particle. And I'm not saying that's the only particle of some kind out of all the particles. No. The proton is the only particle. So when I said you have to go back to first grade, I'm talking to your Nobel Prize laureates, the PhD bigwigs. You're going to have to sit at my feet now, because you got it ass backwards. So the proton is the only particle. What are all those other things, including the electron and the photon? Are there other things? Yes. What are they? The particle physicists will have that figured out very shortly. In about 10 billion years, they'll finally realize they'll never get the answer. But they won't stop for at least the age of a supermassive black hole. They're that far gone. They're irretrievable, in fact, so you're quite fortunate to be in this kindergarten class. It's not kindergarten for you. This is super advanced double Stanford. You're going to Exeter, Oxford, and Cambridge all at the same time, every university in France. You'll be ahead of everybody because you listen to me talk about the meaning of numbers. Just as if I'm Kepler and you're some other astrologer, and we're talking about the music of the spheres and the perfect Platonic shapes in the sky. Right? That's what sacred geometry sounds like to me. I had to read something about it, because even though I knew it was going to be mostly horse shit, that I would probably learn something from it. And what more do you ask from a scientific text? Maybe it's fibbing, but is it on the right track? If you're talking about sacred geometry, in my personal opinion, you're definitely on the right track. But sacred numbers? No. But the meaning of numbers, not to make them sacred or start, lighting candles to certain numbers as Richard Feynman apparently wanted to do. Well, if that's your religion, you're a free man. You can invent your own religion. Maybe it's true. But nobody will ever care. Okay? So the meaning of numbers means you need to listen to someone who takes the subject to the right level, such as myself, and no one else would ever even dare. So I'm rather unique in that respect. But I hope you're catching at least a glimpse now that we crossed the 30-minute mark, and I'm sorry, but I do have to curtail these because of obviously limited technology, which I'm sorry it cannot be restored, so this is forever, as far as I know. Unless a miracle occurs, and the Islam people believe in miracles, and so do Christians. And since all Christians are Islam, or if they're not, then they're ignoramuses. Now, all Christians are Islam, and I am now the teacher of both of those sects. Those little tiny enclaves of truth that just wander from country to country over millennia and just hold on to the truth of God to pass on to some lucky child who would then have his or her soul saved to go to heaven forever. Whereas if you listen to your Western scientists who are now atheists and crazy and don't know anything about Islam or the truth and couldn't care less, then you're really in sad shape, and I'm so glad you're tuned in, children. I can teach everything that I've been teaching for 3.5 years to fifth graders. I would prefer to keep it to high school because that's a safer cutoff. I mean, fifth graders, you're taking a chance. With my lunar geometry approach, absolutely. Your children would become geniuses listening to me. So would your 65-year-old professors become geniuses listening to me. And only someone who actually knows can talk like that unless I'm a perfect deceiver. And there's plenty of movies that cover, I could be Matt Damon. Oh man, did he play a nasty role where he just deceived everybody. I hope you don't think I'm trying to deceive you. So we've gotten to the number 1. In the next video, we'll get to the number 2. And then the mysterious relationship between 3 and 4, which I'm going to disembowel. Thank you.